2 a.m. I'm calling this guy and I'm telling him niko kwa njia nakuja. Ako like, are you serious? 2 a.m. where are you going? Alone kwanza. When we were still talking, some 2 guys came and snatched my phone. They left with it. So I decided, okay, now since I'm here, there's a place where we used to go and chill. And I went. I knocked and he said, okay, you can enter. Hivi tu anaenda kunifungulia hivi, 5 guys come. They say, we have seen one who has your phone. Tuende tukupatie simu. As naive, as drunk, as scared, as whoever I was, I decided to follow these guys. In the middle of the road, because ilikuwa shopping center, they raped me, 2 of them, one after the other. After experiencing all that traumatizing moment, I'm crying, I'm shaking. Now it's 3 a.m. I'm alone again. Sijui know what will happen next. I don't know where the police station is because it's a new area. All of a sudden, a guy came. He came and told me, let's go and report. He said that he knows where the police station is. And he proceeded also to rape me. Alcohol has made me lose a lot of things. Friends, relationships, jobs. Yani a lot of things that when I look back, I really regret. Kama alcohol ingekuwa hapo in that situation, ningekuwa very fun, ningekuwa a very different person. Yeah, I've lost a lot of opportunities, which I regret because when I look back, entirely, I could have been very far. Na singekuwa na a lot of grudges in my heart of the things I did due to alcohol, under the influence. Alcohol used to control me in the aspect that I'll do something that I cannot do when I'm sober. There are some people who, when they take alcohol, they can decide, sasa, I'm done for the day, those are enough for me. I go home or I do something else. But they're like me. If alcohol is here, I'll take until there's no breaks. You take as long as the alcohol is there and you have money, or maybe you have a group of people, you'll take that alcohol. There's no breaks at all. When I'm intoxicated, I'm very confident. I can tell someone anything that comes to my mind without even thinking. That is the confidence that alcohol gives you. Now when you're sober, you cannot even face someone. Maybe you have a crush on someone, you can't tell him when you're sober. So you hear about drunk texting. You text someone because you're drunk, you have that confidence. But when you're sober, no. Gradually, you continue. You just find a reason to drink. Maybe today is someone's birthday, you drink. Maybe you're stressed, you drink. Maybe you do something. Now alcohol becomes your partner. Alcohol replaces almost everything in your life. Alcohol replaces your friends, replaces who you were before, replaces family. Because I was told when I started, I was saying, it's not good. But I'm saying, it's not kila siku. It's once in a while. Now, once in a while grows. It's like planting a seed. I grew up in a normal setting with my father and mother. Around when I was 3 years old, they separated. And I was left with my mom. And my father went his way. So when I grew up, I only knew my mother. And my father came into the picture vizuri when I was in class 8. Now moving to secondary school. But when I was young, my father used to drink. And we were far away from home. We were at Mombasa. And I could see the way he was reacting when he was drunk. My mother was even scared. Now we moved from Mombasa not to Nairobi. That's when I started growing. My mother kanilea from then till now. My mother is not a drinker. She has never been a drinker. Actually, she hates alcohol very much. I think because of the way she saw my father behaving due to the alcohol. Yes, I grew up in the very Christian. I was a Sunday school teacher at some point. I used to sing in church, present, a lot of participate in church activities. Yes, then after high school, that's when the devil took an opportunity. Now, nimeenda secondary school. My father came at a point akapata another family. The family, he had 2 children, 1 girl and 1 boy. So every time I used to ask for something, he could take so much time. I could feel like he doesn't prioritize me at all. Like I used to feel like I'm a burden or something when I was in high school. Now it started there, which until today I can't even. Sidhani naweza mwita daddy. It's kind of hard because we never had the chance to bond. So the last holiday in form 4 that watu huenda then wanarudi kufanya KCSE. That holiday I had a certain boyfriend. That boyfriend, I went to his place and he bought a small quarter of Chrome. I can't forget the brand. And we took it. Apparently, I felt so nice the first time I took alcohol. And I didn't take a lot. It was just a small one, but I felt so nice. Like something, like just a good feeling. I didn't have the confidence to say no. I was like, what will he feel? He'll feel like I don't appreciate that whatever he's trying to do. So I did it because of him. Because he came with the idea and because he's my boyfriend. That is what gave me the confidence to take it, because he's my boyfriend, he can't give me something bad. Yes. Now after taking it, now to school. We went and did our KCSE and we finished. After that, now sasa nimekuwa raia sasa, no more school, no more high school. I came now to the real world. The real world, that was 2018. In 2019, I went to college. In college is when, after college, now, because I did beauty therapy. When I did beauty therapy, after now beauty therapy, now I didn't have anything else to do. Now that's when you come home. Now you're with your friends in the society now, no school, no nothing. Now that is when the opportunity comes. A lot of free time can also lead you to alcohol. So after I finished college, I came home and with nothing to do, I had a lot of free time. Having a lot of free time, my mom was not around, she was abroad. One day we went to a certain club at our area with my friends. We went, we drank, and went back home. I was not that drunk, I was tipsy-ish. When I went back home, the following day, my father called, but he called my grandmother. He was like, hey, I heard that Vivian was seen at a club. Huh? And of course I was asked. I was like, no, I was not there. Hey, they're lying. Nini. Hey, and he was like, okay. And my mom was told, since she left, I was a very good girl, nothing. And she was like, Mbona, why are you lying against my daughter? She was not there. And I was like, okay, that was a close one. So now I won't go to the club around here anymore. Now that's when I started drinking vizuri. Now I used to go. Now I know clubs, specific clubs. I go, I take something, but I was very cautious of the amount I'm taking, because my parents don't really know what I'm taking, that I'm taking alcohol. So I used to take very small amounts, but regularly, a lot of times. Then I come back. If they notice something, they won't say. They didn't ever talk about it. 2020 proceeded. But 2020 I used to be very cautious. Sikuwa nakunywa sana, very very moderate alcohol. 2021, I started working. Na hii pesa nashindwa. What do I use this money to do? I don't have children. I don't have anything I'm doing with the money. I didn't know how to save. So what I used to do is alcohol. That time I used to take some small weed. So either I buy weed, go somewhere far and smoke, then come back. Or I buy alcohol, drink alone, then come back. Weed, I started smoking weed due to friends. Friends. Because a lot of friends of mine used to take weed. So they're like hyping this thing, and I'm like, kwani even me one day say I'll try. One day, one of them used to be a peddler, pedi. Now, nilikuwa na 50 bob, nikamwambia nishika, nipeka kitu nijaribu. And it was a good feeling. Now you remember the boyfriend that gave me my first alcohol. Tumetoka shule vizuri and we are still in good terms. Now, sasa in 2020, we started dating in 2018. And in 2021, we were still together. I remember that the work I was doing was I used to work at an M-Pesa, but it was ours. It was my grandmother's. But now here and there, she used to give me money to put credit on your phone for the good job that I'm doing. So this boyfriend of mine came. And don't forget, I did beauty therapy. So I had to small like nails, makeup. My friends will come over. My neighbors, not friends. They come, I fix their nails, nini, small makeup here and there. But at the still M-Pesa shop. So my boyfriend comes one day with, apparently he was a photographer. He came and I noticed lipstick on his shirt. Ilikuwa inakaa movie, like what you see in movies, with a man comes home with lipstick on his shirt. And I didn't talk. So later on, after he left, I texted him. I was like, I saw lipstick on your shirt. And he just dismissed that issue like it wasn't anything. The following day was on a Sunday. I passed nikapitia kwao. And he was like, he didn't want to talk about that story at all. And I was like, why? And yet, yes, I know you're a photographer, but what is lipstick doing on your shirt? That night, after that Sunday, he texted me and he was like, I'm sorry, you're a good girl, you're an angel. I'm sorry I'm breaking your heart like this. You don't deserve to get hurt. And I felt so bad. You see that first high school love that you loved? Yeah. I felt so bad. And I wondered, what will I do? I cried. I feel like doing more. The guy broke up with me on the text and was like, I don't decide. He found someone better or something. I don't even remember what he said, but he said that we are done. Now that he's texting me that on Sunday night, on Monday, I woke up, did my chores, vizuri, then bado still have the heartbreak. I'm just imagining how and why, what have I done wrong. I went, bought a quarter, nikaiweka on my chini ya bed under my pillow. At night, I took that bottle, yote, with no water, with no juice, with nothing, very ikiwa hivyo conk. I drank it. When I drink, I'm crying when I'm drinking it, like why? Na hasira mingi sana. I drank it and I vomited. Nilitapika hiyo bed yangu. Alafu alcohol, the vomit of alcohol is it smells so bad. Alafu nimetapika kwa kitanda. That same bed, nafaa nilalie hiyo bed with the vomit on. It was very disgusting. Then I'm calling him, I'm telling him, unajua umefanya nimekunywa nini mzima peke yangu. And hata he didn't even care. He was like, sasa mbona, you see. So that's when now I started now drinking vizuri. Why? Juu ya stress. The following day after kutapika leo, nikapindua tu mattress. Hata I was not even bothered with the stench of the vomit. I went to bought weed again. I smoked. Yani, no, it started now growing. If I can take a whole quarter, that's when I realized, okay, kumbe I'm that strong. After that, now it's 2021, 2022. I went back to Mombasa. No, my father works at Mombasa. So once in a while, he calls me to maybe work or just visit. In 2022, I went to Mombasa. But not he at Mpeketoni, Lamu. In Lamu, we used to live with him. But he has branches, alafu his familia iko Mombasa, Lamu and Mombasa, you get. So, on weekends, used to go to the family and leave me in the house that we used to live together. So, I'm all alone in Mpeketoni, no work. Maybe when nafungua kazi in the morning, then in the evening I go home, cook supper, sleep. Now, don't forget now, the alcohol, now it's in me now. I can take quarters, 2 quarters, 3 quarters alone. So I started one weekend. Sasa hiyo time my father used to pay me. Like, I'm working under him and I'm getting paid. Like, it was 8,000 then. 8,000, msichana hanunui nguo, afanye hana familia, alipi rent, ako tu just like that. If ni nguo, my father will buy. If ni nywele, nitatengenezwa. Yani, you have money na kuna kitu nanisaidia nayo. So, one weekend when he was away, I figured out a joint, a certain joint where wine and spirit. So, I used to go there. In the morning, I go there, I piga ka half of quarter, maybe 100, depending on the brand you're taking. 100, 150, yes. I piga, go to work. If I'm supposed to take a parcel to Nairobi, to a station, kwa kupeleka parcel, I take another. Ilikuwa kanaka kama dawa, asubuhi, lunch na jioni. At lunchtime, ka half. In the evening when I go home, I go, naekewa kakachupa, ka half. I go home. Because my father cannot ingia kwa room yangu. So I used to have them there, those 2 halves. In the evening, after supper, I sleep. Morning, hivyo, gradually. Now my father used to know I take alcohol. Hata the more reason why he used to call me at Mombasa ni kunitoa kwa pombe sana. So nimepelekwa Mombasa. Tena ndo hiyo tena imeanza. Ka freedom tu hivi kidogo, I'm taking alcohol. One weekend, akaenda. So hiyo siku hata sikubuy ka quarter. I think kanusu, I bought half. Yes, 350 ml. So I bought. And I went home. Now I have freedom. Hata hakuna haja kuficha. So ningeweka tu kwa bag. Kufika home. That day, what did I cook? I decided to boil mayai. And I said, when this mayai is boiling, let me take something. So nimekaa kwa room. Ndo huyo mimi nimeanza mvinyo. Nakunywa. Sikujua nikizima, I slept. Hapo in the middle of the night nasikia, hata I didn't know kama ni night ama ilikuwa asubuhi. I hear neighbors banging on the doors and windows. Wengine wanaitia kwa dirisha, my phone is ringing. I woke up confused. Kuamsha tu hivi kichwa harufu inanipiga, gas imewaka, mayai imeungua, sufuria. Hey, it was hectic. No, I woke up, nikazima gas. Luckily, haikuwa haya, neighbors wako like, ulilala, stima, gas ukaacha on. That's when I looked at my phone. I have like almost 20 missed calls from my father. Mimi nikachukua simu. Kamwambia, kwa nini umeacha, I don't even remember what he asked. Kwa nini umeacha gas on? And I was like, oh, nilikuwa nimelala, sikuwa na feel poa, nilikuwa naumwa na kichwa. That was what I said. Haya, nikazima gas, na hakuna sapa, itabidi sana nimelala hivyo. Went, juu nimeamka, acha tu nimalizie hivyo mbele, nilikuwa nimebaki, now I sleep vizuri, I wake up tomorrow morning. The following day was Sunday. Hakuna place nilikuwa naenda. So I drank and I finished and I slept. Haya, Sunday ikakuwa poa, nikaamka hangover because nilikunywa a lot alone with nasikuwa nimekula because now what I wanted to eat ishaungua. Asubuhi nikaamka hata ufikirii, sikuwa nafikiria kukula. I woke up tena huyo kwenda kutafuta ya kutoa hangover. Bought another one. Came back now. Nikapiga. Alafu nilikuwa nakunywa nasahau kukula. We forget to eat because when I used to start drinking, you don't even remember to eat. Nikaendea kitu ya kutoa lock, nikakam. I came back to the house. Nikajifungia and I continued drinking. Then no Sunday, no. Around jioni, I went for supper and cooked because Monday, my father was coming early in the morning. So I had to be sober at least. So he came back, he asked me about the gas issue. I was like, hey, nilikuwa naumwa na kichwa and decided to sleep a bit, but nika oversleep. I was like, okay. Monday still had a hangover and my father was like, alianza kushuku. One day akanipea kazi. Kashindwa, why am I taking so long? Since he used to drink, he had an idea, ni hangover inamsumbua. Now when that idea, I don't even remember, I don't even know why alianza kushuku. Nilikuwa naona mimi ni mjanja. Yani, hakuna mtu anajua, anacheza, anaficha white. That day akasema, let me go and check on my friend, I'm coming back. Akaniacha kwa kazi. He went. Kumbe, he went home. No, he had decided not to find out the truth. He went to my room and found almost 100 bottles in a box. Alafu, I was so dirty. Alcohol had made me even not like a girl. My bed is not even made. I have dirty clothes all over, machupa everywhere. It was looking like I don't even. Yeah. And he didn't talk. He came back to work. We went for lunch, okay? Yes. On the following day, akaniambia, there's no need of cooking breakfast. We're going to take breakfast somewhere else. I was like, kwani amejua? Has he known? I was like, okay. Haya, you just shower, dress, and we go. That's what I did. We went to a certain hotel. We had breakfast. Now the question came. Are you still taking alcohol? I was like, no, I'm not. Are you sure? I'm not taking alcohol. I was like, okay. Are you having a relationship with one of our neighbors? I was like, no, that one, no. No, that is when I decided to say, hapo kwa pombe, yes, but for having an affair with someone in our, no. Now that's where everything went loose. When we went back home, it was like, now, you go home, pack your things, you are leaving tomorrow morning. Where? To Nairobi. Now you come back home to my mother. I was like, no, he started saying that. My neighbors are saying that I have been going to that man's house every night, then coming back. Then now I'm taking alcohol. Now now even the alcohol was not my issue. My issue was, why are you saying I'm having a relationship with someone who clearly I'm not? Because unajua mtu anajua kweli yake. So I was like, unaniekelea kwa nini? Yes, kwa pombe, hiyo I admit, pombe, yes. But why would you say now I have an affair with someone? I was so mad. Asubuhi came, nikapandishwa gari all the way to Nairobi. Nairobi nimefika. Now I stayed at Mpeketoni for months. Now it crossed over to 2024. Now I came back. And my parents are angry. My mother is so angry, like, because nilikuwa naacha pombe almost kila siku. Naamka nasema sitakunywa pombe, sitakunywa. Na nawaambia pole, sitakunywa tena. Then kidogo then najipata. Every time I used to say I won't take alcohol. Ndio unapata I'm being called to some place. We go. Every time when I used to say, no, even I stopped saying nitaacha pombe. Sasa nikasema sasa wacha kama ni kukunywa sasa. The fate may agree, because every time I say I don't want, najipata. 2024, my mother was so angry. My grandmother, unasema unaenda kupeleka aibu, you're bringing embarrassments to us. Why? Your father has given you the opportunity. But you see, now I've come back, they're angry. Sasa nashindwa. No, what do I do? They're so angry. Luckily I have a friend. Akaniambia kuna kazi place fulani, nataka you go and ask if you'll have the opportunity to have the job. That job I got was a liquor shop. Yeah, a liquor shop. No, I went and I started. It's a walking distance from home, so no need of fare. The salary was so good. I was feeling so nice. Kwanza because nimetoka home where they're so angry at me, so I needed that extra personal space. And I went and I started working. Luckily, my boss was zile za you can't take alcohol when you're at work. It's either you take when you're going home or something. If you take because he asked me if you take alcohol. Who can say unakunywa pombe na uko kwa pombe? I said no, I don't take alcohol. When I refused, akasema sawa, you start work. And I started working. I was so good at my job. Very good. Lakini now alcohol is here. Clients are here. And you're getting a lot of tips. So clients walikuwa wanakuja, wanakuuliza unakunywanga gani? Unamwambia anabuy. Sasa because you can't take kwanza, because the reason why I didn't used to take, because there were CCTVs. Otherwise if there are not CCTVs ingekuwa nakunywa. So unaiweka hapo na unaiweka pali bosi wako anaona, because asiseme umekunywa ama something. So you put it there. Hivi tips, if you have a lot of alcohol umenunuliwa, you opt to tips. Unaambia mtu instead of kunibaia nipe tu hiyo pesa. Yeah. Hivi masaa kufunga ikifika, hapo tu kwa mlango, when I lock the door, nafungua my bottle from there. And because niko na maybe 2 bottles or 3, naona sitaenda nazo home. Nenda nazo home hata itabamba, unakunywa aje pombe peke yako. If nafunga by 9 or 10, I put my liquor kwa bag and I go to another club. Now hapo nitakunywa pombe yangu, then I buy another one, no nitaenda home. So that was my life. Every day for almost 6 months, because I worked there hiyo time yote. Now every day hangover. You're smelling. Unaamka unatoa lock kwanza, then you come to work. My boss was like, we said no drinking at work. Unajaribu kumwambia hii ni ajana, and amini. Which was a very lame lie, because unasema ni ajana and you woke up another day, brushed your teeth, bathed. Akachoka. Now we started saying, because hizo tips nilikuwa napewa because I used to get a lot of tips because it was a liquor shop at a Shell center and it's a big one. Watu wanakuja wanakuachia a lot of tips, very huge tips. So he got tired and he said, now wewe nimeona sasa hata unaanza kunibia, atuwezani, and you're coming to work drunk. And I was dismissed now. And now I went home. That is 2024. 2024, now I stayed home like that, jobless. Apparently I didn't save anything because what am I saving for? Sina mtoto, sina nini. I didn't save. Now I'm home doing nothing in 2024. Nikakaa ikaisha 2025. That is when now that is the moment I discovered now I'm mad, I'm going insane. That time I had after I had a boy, like a serious boyfriend now. Tukaenda, we started living together with the person, but alcohol is disturbing my system. But the guy was he was very supportive. He was ready. Alikuwa ananiambia mbona alcohol is not the solution to anything. But sikuwa naona kitu kubwa, like unaniambia nini? What are you telling me? Alcohol? Sijafanya anything wrong. So pia kama binadamu, and because it's not even my family, we came and paths clashed. We didn't live anymore together, but I was so sad because you see, nilikuwa nasikia vibaya. Ilifika point now there's no love, every time ni kelele. So he opted to find someone else, which I knew. So when I came to find out, I was so mad. It was a big, yani vitu zili escalate sana. So I went and drank that day when I found out that he was flirting with another person. Nikakuja home, nikaanza vurugu. I disturbed that guy, that I really disturbed him. So the following day I felt that it's enough, and I went back home. Now home. When I went home, I was so depressed now. Home, they are so angry, bado, they are feeling. Every time I used to drink when I was with the guy, alikuwa anaambia my mom. So every time my mama ananiongelesha, no, I've gone back home. When I went back home, that day I went somewhere and drank. I drank. That day, now you're drinking, you're crying because you're stressed drinking. Hey, that guy, ameanza kucheat. Yeah, now I'm drinking, I'm crying, I'm messed up. And I went back home. Home now they're saying, sasa umetoka kwa boma, tena umeanza kukunywa tena. Nani atokanga kwa boma anaenda kukunywa. You see now. Yani, I used to feel like, watu hata hawanielewi. Nimetoka hapa kwa heartbreak, na kuja na munielewi. Nikajifungia kwa room. Yani, I didn't want anything. Hakuna kitu nilikuwa nataka kukula, staki. I stayed. Now I started having suicidal thoughts. Every time I used to drink, nafikiria tu kujiua. Because sina happiness anymore. Now I was starting becoming depressed. Sasa nimekunywa. Now we start reflecting back, unaona sasa babangu ndio alinifukuza, au nao haniongeleshi, amenikasirikia. Huyo mtu wangu tena ndio ameniacha. Now nikakaa kwa choo siku moja with there's a bottle of medicine at home. Ilikuwa imejaa supplements. Nilikaa kwa choo na maji na hiyo tablet, hiyo a whole bottle. I took those medicines. It was 3/4, ikabaki huku quarter. Nikaona yenyewe na niko karibu kufa because my stomach ilikuwa inawasha. Now even I'm vomiting even blood. Nikaona I don't want to die like this. Kabidi tena I went and told my mom, natapika nini damu. Obviously as a mother akaona umefanya nini, nikamwambia nimekunywa dawa. She took me to the hospital. The doctor was like, kwani unataka kujua? Because even my heart was beating. So nikaona hiyo imekuwa uchungu sana. Tukareza, nikajaribu kujikata hapa. I'm bleeding kidogo kidogo, but I don't want kadogo kadogo. I want a lot of blood. I die. Because what's the point now? This then that was depression that it was rising, because now I'm sad. I'm just a miserable person. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants to associate his or himself with me. Yeah. But bado sikukufa. As you can see, I'm still here. Now that is 2025. 2025 around, nikaendelea tu hivyo tu na kukunywa, siogi for days. Maybe I go naletwa home nikiwa hata nabeba niwa. I was very drunk now. Sasa now na full blown alcohol every single day, every day. At least those siku zingine nilikuwa naskipisha siku mbili. But now every single naamka kuchange, hakuna kuoga, kuchange kwa club. Every time hata because huku ni place nimelelewa, nilianza kukunywa kitambo. A lot of friends know that huyu ni wa huku, na because if I have money I used to buy for those guys. So nafika, maybe if you have 50 bob, when you buy a shot of 50 bob, unapatanga now a lot of alcohol is coming. Unabaiwa. Little did you know ulishalewa, that's why unapelekwa home. Yes, nikapelekwa home. Unapelekwa home every time. Yes, unapelekwa tu home. That now sasa hapo nikaanza kuona enyewe I'm not heading to the right direction. I'm not really heading to the right direction. In 2025 around October. No, not October. Around May. Nimetoka club siku moja. Now sasa when I'm with that, in that that very, I don't know, very, very miserable person. And I decided there was nobody at home apart from my siblings and cousins. I said, no, this house, the pain I'm feeling, they'll also feel that pain. Took a matchbox. Nikachoma. Nikawasha a certain chair. Hii ikapatikana ikazimwa, because I have a cousin mananifuata who is older. Akazima hiyo, nikasema we inside me, kwa nini unazima moto yenyewe? And I went nikawasha bedroom. Hiyo pia because kwa giza unaweza ona flames because ni moto. Hiyo pia ikazimwa. Now they were like, then they called my mom. My mom akakuja. Ati tumekaa hivi kunachomeka. Now my siblings are ni huyu amewasha, tumemwona akiinama. Niko wapi evidence? The confidence that alcohol used to give me. Iko wapi evidence? Kama mna evidence cha kusema ni mimi nimewasha. But obviously children they can't lie. My mother went, made a statement at the police station. The following day mimi huyo nikakujiwa. Nikalala police station. Hiyo time yote I'm still nakataa kabisa, si mimi. Because hukunipata na kiberiti, hukuniona nikichoma, nikakataa kabisa, it's not me. Yes, nikalala station. My first time ever kulala station. Because it was a male, nika station tu kadogo. Post, it's a post, not a station. Cell ni only men. So nikafungiwa hapo kwa the OB area. Saa kufungiwa hapo nikakaa. The following day nikakaa. Around jioni kitu 5, that's when I saw my grandmother and my mother coming. Nikaambiwa, sasa hiyo time cell kulikuwa na male inmates. So singekubalishwa kuingia. No, the following day walikuwa shatoka, ikabidi nirudi. Sasa nikaambiwa sasa niwekwe kwa cell, and I was like, now I'm done for. Sasa nikukaa kwa cell. Sasa niko tu hapo nimekaa. But still hiyo time sikuona kitu. I didn't used to see kama ni a big deal. Nikae, nyinyi mnipendi, mnitaki. So nikae huku at least kwenye siwaoni. Then I stayed there for like about 30 minutes. Kidogo kidogo nikasikia nimeitwa, then I was called, nikaekwa kwa gari. Now I'm seated in the car, I'm not talking to anyone, and we went home, picked up some shoes. Kwani am I being transported to Langata? But I didn't talk, I was silent. Now I sat there. Hey, safari kaanza. Safari. In the car was my grandmother and a certain uncle of mine, nephew to my grandmother. Yes, we were, and 2 police officers, one female and one male. I'm in between there eating. I was eating maziwa and mkate like a normal criminal will eat. Safari tumeenda. Me at your time, I don't know where we are going. Tumeenda. I'm not talking with anyone. I'm not even asking. I'm just there. Tumeenda. Around, tumeenda. Now it's even late. Kutoka 5 hadi, now it's around 8. That's when I hear the driver saying, ile shule, ile rehab inakuanga wapi? Directions now. That's when I knew, oh my God, this is the moment now. But I was still okay. Yes, that's kufika ndio. Now when we arrived at the rehab, ndio naona bag yangu, kumbe they had even packed my clothes and the shoes were even mine to. Hey, go like, okay, watu wameamua tu wanilete rehab. But I was okay. If anywhere far from those people, I was okay. Kufika, the admission, I was asked by the one who received us, now, do you have anything to say to them? No. And that's when I joined rehab. I was okay being away from home. I felt that home was so toxic. Those people, they don't love me. They don't understand me. Now I was okay. Now I felt the change of environment would be good. Now I stayed at rehab, very good, very active person, very good person. I stayed there for 3 months na nikatoka. In rehab, I really learned a lot. In the first 2 weeks, it was like, I'm not yet confident about this place. I'm not yet okay with the place. But as time went by, I was okay. I started learning. I learned what alcohol does, what a lot of things does. It really changed me at the rehab. I really changed. For now, I got fat because I was so thin. Alcohol had eaten me up because I used to drink, no eating, no nothing. I was very unkept. But now, nimeenda rehab, reform. Now I'm good. Then I stayed my 3 months and it was time for me to leave. Go now put what I've learned at the rehab into practice, because now you are learning about alcohol, and now I never used to see alcohol. So now when you leave is when you figure out. Yes, so now when you come out, ndio unapambana na pressure ya kusema staki, because when you are there, yes, you will say, I used to say now sitakunywa juu because I'm not even seeing it. Sasa when nimetoka ndio utasema utakunywa na yetu naiona. Yes, it is a struggle. But nikatoka, nikakaa 1 month bila kukunywa. After kutoka 1 month, it happened, nikaenda a certain event. Kwa hii event wacha nisikunywe. Hai, ingine ananiambia onja tu. Hiyo ya onja tu ikashinda. Nikakunywa, but sikukunywa sana. I think I took 1 glass. That event ilikuwa inaekewa kwa certain tumbler. These tumblers that people wanaekeangwa pombe kwa events. And I took only 1. And I went home. When I went home, they knew huyu kuna kitu ameonja. And I was like, hey, makosa imefanyika kidogo, lakini tomorrow I'll go to my counselor and I'll talk to him about it. And they were like, okay. The following day, headed to my rehab. They went and we talked about what made me drink again. And it was really as that place yenyewe was giving a lot of temptation. You see people drunk, they're excited, there is that. Yeah, and we talked about it, and we came up with the idea of no going to places where there'll be alcohol, avoid those people. Yes, and I was okay. I am being okay, and I went back home. No, but now my parents are feeling kinda very bad because they knew sitakunywa pombe tena after rehab, but now here I am again, nimeonja. Haya, little tendo hiyo kuonja yangu tena itaniletea bala. Sasa nimeonja, nimefeel kama sijawahi kunywa tena. No, imeamsha the beasts. That's how nikakunywa. After that time, after the event, now I started sipping here and there. Hapa tu, hapa kule. After rehab, there's something called aftercare. And mine, yeah, I was not supposed to go back home where I grew up, where I was supposed to change my environment, which I didn't. I don't want to blame it that much on the environment, but it cost for my relapse. It was one of the reasons why I relapsed, because you are going back to where you used to drink with, you are going back to people you used to drink with. Hapo tu nikaanza tena kudidimia tena, and I started drinking again. But this time sikuwa nakunywa sana, ilikuwa very, because now I'm alienated and I know alcohol is just a disease, and how venye ilikuwa inanifanyia, which is not good, nisirudi hapo. So everything I used to do nisirudi kwenye nilikuwa few years. Everything hata nikionja very, now that time I had maintained ile kitu ya kucontrol. Sasa sitaki kurudi kwenye nilikuwa at all, because now I'm big, nimenona, uji ya rehab imenionyesha. Now I'm good, I'm looking very good. Now I didn't want to go back to venye nilikuwa nimechapa back then. So pole pole. Lakini pombe hainanga pole pole. When you take pole pole, you come to then a lot. One day nimetoka home, nimeenda harusi of one of my cousins. Harusi ikakuwa poa, after party. Now we decided to go for after party as cousins. Kuenda, when I went there, now ni kukunywa tu. I drank. No, I started going on autopilot. My friends, my cousins were telling me that night I disturbed them a lot, because I've never drank with my cousins. Hawakuwa najua if it is normal the way I was behaving, or it was the first time, or I have a problem, because most of them didn't know I was at rehab. So now they are telling me the story, because I was autopilot. When I woke up after a few days, I didn't know how whatever happened, how nilijipata ajuko situation, because they were saying, now let me say according to what they told me. That day, after now we were all tipsy, all intoxicated, we went home. We are still at the club. Now I was telling them I want to go to my boyfriend's house. This time is 1 a.m. and I want to go to my boyfriend's house. My boyfriend's house ni unatoka hapo kwenye tulikuwa, you board one matatu, another. It's quite a distance. And I was like, unajua ni saa ngapi unataka kwenda? Like, nataka kwenda. They finally gave up. They tried pulling me. Wakajaribu kunipandisha pikipiki. Yani, it was so difficult. I even slapped one of them, I hear. It was very difficult to calm me down. And so they decided, let her go. And apparently I went. Now it's 2 in the morning. What I'm wearing a white dress, very revealing. Nimetoka harusi, obviously you have to look good. Very drunk. 2 am nimefika, nimeshukishwa gari na sasa hakuna mtu kwa barabara, there are no cars, there are no nothing, and it's not like my at home where at least I'm familiar with the areas. This is a new place. 2 am I'm calling this guy, now my boyfriend, I'm telling him niko kwa njia nakuja. Ako like, are you serious? 2 am where are you going alone kwanza? I was like, sina kuja. And he was like, okay, we kuja. When we were still talking, some 2 guys came and snatched my phone. They left with it. You cannot even follow them. I was confused now. Sasa nikasikia sasa zimeanza kushuka because I was scared. I don't know whether to scream, to cry, I don't even know what to do. Simu yangu imeenda na bag because my phone was here, the one grabbed the phone, the other one grabbed the bag. So I decided, okay, now since I'm here, there's a place where we used to go and chill with my boyfriend now. Let me go there and ask if they have an accommodation. I can sleep for the night. Then tomorrow, he can be paid later by my boyfriend when I call him. And I went. I knocked and he said, okay, you can enter. Hivi tu anaenda kunifungulia hivi, 5 guys come. They say, we have seen one who has your phone. Tuende tukupatie simu. As naive, as drunk, as scared, as whoever I was, I decided to follow these guys. Tumeenda. Now, there were 5. Now 3 of them, I don't know where they went. We remained with 2. We went, tukapitia a lot of shortcuts. When we went, we stopped at a certain place. I was like, ako happy? Where is the thief? They were like, haya, toa nguo. Those 2 guys in the middle of the road, because ilikuwa shopping center, at the verandas of a shops. Yeah, they raped me, 2 of them, one after the other. Because I had to cooperate because they had a knife. So it is either I cooperate or I die. And even my parents don't know where I am. They don't know anything. Sina simu, I don't have anything. And after they were done, they decided to take me back to where they found me. Now I'm there. Kufika hapo, the guy that had decided to open for me the door, akasema nyumba zimejaa. No, they have nowhere to go. Now it's 3 am. After experiencing all that traumatizing moment, I'm crying, I'm shaking. Now it's 3 am, I'm alone again. Sijui know what will happen next. I don't know where the police station is because it's a new area. Now I'm there, confused, nimetetemeka. All of a sudden, a guy came. He came panting. I was like, those guys, there's some guys who have stolen a phone from me and my ID. And I was like, even me, they have stolen my bag and my phone. The guy told me, let's do this. Let's go and report. Now, so, guy, that time was very traumatized. I was so bad. At the moment, I don't even think. Anyway, he came and told me, let's go and report. He said that he knows where the police station is. Now it's around 4. All of a sudden, he tells me, well, there's some people who are following us. But me, I couldn't see them. Then he said, tuingia hapa kwa msitu, tujifiche, we wait until they leave. In the bushes, we are there. So tumekaa hapo, tunangoja unknown person apite because sikuwa naona. Hiyo time my brain is very scattered. I'm scared. Niko mchafu. I had a white dress, nimelalishwa chini. I'm so dirty. Now we in the bushes. I'm still shaking. My heart nilikuwa naisikia kwa masikio. Yani my heart is beating very fast. All of a sudden nikaona mtu na torch. A certain guy over the next area with a torch. Then this guy mwenye tuko naye, I heard him say, huku, this forest, people die. People are killed here, they are thrown here, you'll never found again. Now when I hear that, now, guy, I'm saying, sasa, this is the end of me. Hii ni pombe ina gani na kunywa inafanya, hii ni situation gani 3 am. Guy, I'm scared, I'm shaking. Now, this guy now starts telling me, ati what wewe umeibiwa nini, because my phone has gone and they have raped me. And I was like, hey, huh? Kumbe he also found the opportunity to do it, and he was like, hey, and he slept me bado huko kwa bushes, and he proceeded also to rape me. No, I was like, okay, we maliza juu sasa mmeamua sasa nyi wote leo. Yani I felt helpless because huwezi piga nduru, kuna fear of the unknown, ujui ule mtu anamulika uko kama ni mwaji ama ni polisi ama ni yes, and we stayed like that. I feel even waleo I see that guy was even with the other ones, because after what he did apparently akaniambia sasa we can go. So afterwards ndio I came to realize huyu mtu alikuwa pamoja nao, and I was feeling so bad. No, but still sikuwa nataka kufikiria maneno because bado siko home. I had to find a way to go home. I don't have money, I don't have a phone. Then we trekked back to the shopping center. Now it's around 5, at least there's some people. Nikapata pikipiki. I talked to the guy and he was kind enough to take me to my home without kulipa kwanza, because hiyo time most of them they ask for fare before wakupeleke. But me I told him, sahi sina, nilibiwa jana, I'll give you when we reach at our home. Kasema ukikosa. Luckily we went na I used his phone, but my people walikuwa melala, my family walikuwa melala hiyo time because it was still early, 5 a.m. I told him there's a certain club at our area at 5, it's at 24/7. So maybe when we go there anaweza pata mtu, at least anaweza kupea pesa. And we went, luckily, I thank God, we found someone. He got his money and he left. Now the issue is, it is 5 a.m. I'm looking so dirty, wearing white dress with so many stains, dirt, matope, nyasi, everything. So I decided to call a friend of mine to bring me a trouser and a shirt to at least niweze kufika kwa nyumba nikikaa at least better. I went home, I cried. I cried. Nililia because it was so growing up, that was my fear, my greatest fear, to be raped. Because I've been raped even not by 1, by 3. So I felt so bad. Now the other hard thing was to tell someone, because I had to go to the hospital. Now I went, told my grandmother, but she was zile za ulikuwa unafanya nini hiyo masaa, ulikuwa tena wapi? Apparently they didn't believe me, so I told her nipatie pesa niende hospitali. I went to a certain private hospital and they were like we cannot treat you that, lazima ukuwe na OB, that is a police report. Sasa that gave me confusion. Now nikarudi tena home, I talked to someone, akaniambia I didn't use me as the victim. Kuna rafiki yangu amefanyikiwa na so anafaa kufanya nini? That's why I learned that you're supposed to go to the police kwanza, then ndio upeleke hospitali, ndio upewe dawa. So I went to the police station. Kwenda, they were like, the incident didn't happen here, you cannot get an OB here, you're supposed to go where the incident happened, that's where you're supposed to report. And was like, guy, the hours are going, because now I didn't go hiyo siku, nilienda home, I went the following day around majioni. Time inaenda, sina time juu hata uko by the time I go tena itabidi it's 72 hours before 72 hours ishi. So luckily akakubali, akaniandikia OB, and I went to a public hospital, was given the medicines for 1 month to prevent any disease. Nikapewa a little therapy, but I hated myself now at this point. I was feeling so bad. I cried. I couldn't, sikuwa naweza kupeana hiyo story, like what happened. Most of the people, kwanza the third person, my story ended at the 2 people. But it was so hard. Every time I used to think about it or talk about it, I used to cry. It was painful. After the therapy now, sasa nikaamua mimi tena pombe tena. Pombe nimefanya mimi, nimefanyiwa kitu nachukia, nimejichukia. I felt enough is enough. Alcohol again? No. Ndio imefanya nikuwe kwa hii situation. And that's when I decided to put it to an end. Now after all that, nilikaa without talking to anyone. I stayed in my room almost a week. Nikajifungia now. Now sasa I didn't see anything exciting about alcohol. Now the euphoria is gone. So what is inside me is the anger of alcohol. What has alcohol done? Imefanya something I feared most has happened. I locked myself in. I cried. Without a phone. Nikajifungia. I'm not talking to anyone. The euphoria is gone. Yani, I'm feeling so empty. Now at this point, I hated alcohol. Now the hate now comes with now I don't want to be close to it because imefanya nimepitia vitu mingi. I'm only 24 na nimepitia vitu kama za watu wako 40. I felt it's enough. Sasa hata mtu alikuwa ananitext, najua tu huyu ni I never used to reply. Going hata sikuwa natumwa duka because natumwa. Then I was feeling that shame, the guilt. Nimechoma picha, kuchoma, yani my CV is red. Yani maybe nilionekana nikistaga somewhere. Now I'm feeling so bad. My mom, we are not in good terms with my parents. We are not good. Yani I was feeling so bad. And I decided now, wacha yenye nimekunywa sasa. What I've taken now is enough. That case, I didn't follow up because yes, I know the guy's name because when they were in the action, they were calling they are calling each other. But still, now you'll go to a lot of time passed because now you can't be dealing with. But I'm still traumatized. I didn't have the time to deal with going back to that same place because that place was even low. Even today, when I pass that area, I feel so bad. My heart is heavy. I was not strong enough. Even until now, I'm not strong enough to follow up on that case. I know them, but what I did, at least to help me heal, those clothes I had worn, I burnt them. Because I cannot imagine myself when I'm washing them, then wearing them. I burnt them. At least, but still but I know God is a God of justice. That journey, that traumatic experience, I never had the support that was meant to be there. For one, my family members were still mad by the fact that mimi ndio nilijipeleka at 3 a.m. Where was I going? That's not home. Where was I going there? I was drunk. They have tried talking about alcohol. Yet all of it was they painted it like it was my fault. Where at the hospital I got a few support, but I really needed to follow. Even them, they waliniambia I needed to talk to someone because that was not their specialities. But I didn't have the strength. I was feeling so weak. They were asking, how do I feel? I felt like that moment I felt like just keeping quiet or just crying. One person that I want even to thank in this video is my boyfriend. My boyfriend was he was a big support. He supported me. Yes, he really supported me. For one, I've learned to never underestimate something, because I underestimated the power of alcohol and what it can do. Wazileza si ni kidogo tu, but hiyo kidogo tu made my life turn around. I'm also cautious and learned about the people I keep close. I kept people close, and they were one of the factors that led me to my addictive phase. So every time I'm very cautious of your character when you're making friends. I'm very cautious, usinirudishe nyuma na venye nimeng'ang'ana. I'll never want to go back to such kind of friends and those people anymore. The other thing is I've learned to accept nikikosolewa, because if I could have listened to my parents, my family wakiniambia pombe hakuna pale itakupeleka, at least kwenye nilifika kusingefika. At least sahi I'm very cautious. Ukiniambia this, I'm like, okay, there must be a reason as to why you're telling me not to do it, so I'll be very cautious not to do it. Yes, and putting God first, because I never used to pray. Masaa ya kuomba iko wapi? Unalala ukiwa mlevi, unaamka unafikiria hangover. So I've learned to put God first, because God has given me the strength. You see, hiyo kiu nilikuwa nayo sahi hata hakuna. I'm just doing okay by the grace of God. I recently finished a course in food and beverage, that is catering, but I'll still want to continue studying. There's a course I've been passionate about for years. After high school, I really wanted to do that course, which is mortuary science. If you'd like to reach me, you can reach me via my Facebook. I go by the name Vushi V, VUSHY, VEE.